Hi, I'm Kelsey Zeiser with Light Reading, and we're here at MEF 18 in Los Angeles, and I'm joined by Pascal Menezes with MEF. Good to see you, Pascal.
Yeah, thank you, Kelsey. Thanks for having me here.
Yeah,
what a great event.
Definitely. So you've talked a lot about MEF's role in helping service providers in their transformation journey. Where are you at in that process? How are things going?
Yes, I think service providers are definitely, most of our members are service providers, as you know, 130 plus. And they're all somewhere in that transformation journey. And what we're seeing is that, automation's a big aspect now of transformation. And also, SDN's been around for maybe 5-7 years, I don't know, but now finally we're seeing SDN show up everywhere, especially SD-WAN. And then finally virtualization, took a long time to happen, but now we're starting to see virtualization happen. So what you're seeing is service providers worldwide are trying to understand, how do I apply automation and change all my processes from people to machines? Not completely, but as much as they can optimize. And then second of all, how do they replace the kind of legacy models of networking to this more modern transformational networking? And so what we're doing is we have a number of areas that how we're helping our members in this transformational journey. We have our community where they can interact and get on syndicated projects and learn from each other on where they are in their journey with other members. And we have that implementation projects to do that. We also have a number of areas where when they attend workshops, we have workshops almost every quarter now at our members meeting where they learn a lot about the automation APIs, the virtualization aspects, how we're interacting with open source, with other open source projects, other SDOs, and so on. So I think it's a really great place as our members enter or in the middle or towards even the end, their transformation journey. There's a part for every part of a member on their journey to be involved in MEF. So.
Okay, so any part of their journey they can come in and
absolutely,
collaborate with
yeah.
them.
Even from the most advanced like analytics, closed loop analytics that we're doing, projects and implementation projects, to the very start of, I have people provisioning the networks when orders come in. How do I automate that, through APIs that go down into the technology domains?
So you mentioned SD-WAN. What's next for MEF? The SD-WAN technical specifications were announced this week. Could you talk more about that and what challenges MEF is going to address next? Yes,
it's actually the industry first SD-WAN specification, and the industry, even though it's SD-WAN's taken off like wildfire, there's been no definition of what SD-WAN is, no understanding of the framework, the constructs, the labels to be used. Everybody calls it differently in different parts, like whether it be a gateway or an edge device, or everybody has different terminology. So that's pretty straightforward. Even our marketing paper we released some of the use cases and scenarios of SD-WAN. So that's all good. But the other part we did with our SD-WAN specification, we released performance objectives. How does it, and really it's all about application performances. How can an SD-WAN implementation service meet the performance objectives by application? So we describe these ideas of application getting classified into application groups, and groups getting applied performance objectives, and the performance objectives being met by certain methods. We don't know how to do it, but what the behavior of that performance objection should be met. So whether it be packet loss, jitter delays, basically we describe that the mechanism that accurately measures that, so that there's no discrepancies of how one person implements it and measures, another person implements it and measures it. So that's kind of what we've done. We've released the spec in draft specification because we had 800 comments.
Wow.
800 comments.
That's quite a few.
I know, and we've resolved about 70% of them now. But we thought, with 800 comments on such a hot area, we didn't want to just go right to, say, publication.
Right.
We could, we'll easily resolve the other, 30% or so. But we realized that we want to release this now to our community and the public to get their input on some of the areas. And it's a 70-page document. Some is very technical at the very end. We describe attributes so that when we go to automation for APIs on SD-WAN, you can use those attributes to put in the APIs and the data models. So that's there too.
Okay.
And in fact, we also delivered out the data model in Yang right now for SD-WAN. So now we can build APIs out of it.
Okay.
Now we haven't got the APIs yet, but the hackathon right now is happening right now, is trying to take the data models, the spec, and start delivering early prototypes of the API for managing SD-WAN environments from a lifecycle service orchestrator.
Yeah, so it sounds like we can still look forward to a lot more to come there.
A lot more coming, definitely, and especially on the API side, fitting into the lifecycle service orchestration, and also between two SD-WAN vendors, because they all have their own proprietary protocols. How are they going to talk to each other? So like, kind of think of like the E and an I between two SDN, or the I and an I, depending on the operator, in an operator, within an operator, between operators. How will that data plane interact in a way that is not proprietary?
Okay. There's also been a lot of discussion this week about LSO Sanada, that release. What does that signify for the MEF community and the industry at large?
Sanada is a very big deal. If you can believe it, many providers, as they interact with each other to fulfill an order for a customer, and a lot of times, not one provider can service every address in the world, as you can imagine. Providers work together from a retail wholesale model, and they collaborate and they syndicate and they federate. And the workflow process today has been very manual. Even though a provider that has a customer, has retail, has automated completely in their own networks, when it hits someone else's networks, they actually do a very manual process. They'll actually find out if the address can be reached, what kind of services are available, what kind of, they will try to find pricing for that, what kind of capabilities are there, capacity, all that. And all of that can be done in the way of from emails to faxes even to, just very manual, workflow processes that take
really
a very long time.
On automating that.
Yeah, so we've done with Sanada is we've automated all of that with two systems interacting from their business system to business systems. And we've released 4 APIs today. And we did it, again, the same like SD-WAN in a developer release, because it's all locked down, all done, but we want to get feedback from the community, and especially developers. So these 4 use case APIs are basically checking an address, machine to machine between operators. Do you have this address? Can you service this address? What part of the address is it on? What floor? Or hotel room or whatever. It depends. Or campus. What building. And then finally, what's the product availability of that address? What kind of products you're servicing there from the catalog of products? Obviously, carrier Ethernet being a key part of it, access E-line, and then finally getting a price. What's the price? On that service, and then finally,
very important topic.
Yeah, very topic, important. Yes, and then finally, place an order. So that's all the business-to-business systems that were normally manually done, and in workflow is now being automated by machines. So a tenant can come into a portal, ask for that, and automatically these systems interact together, and comes back with an answer right away.
And tell us more about what efforts and progress have been made in having SDOs and open source groups working together and collaborating.
And we're actually doing a lot, and I'll explain that in a second, but I think as an industry, we all have to be moving to become cloud, people call it cloud native, telco cloud, we call it cloud ready, whatever, it doesn't matter, it's becoming cloud-like, I call it. And the whole telecom industry has to become that now, because the hyperscale OTT cloud guys, public guys and SaaS guys have done it, and the telecom providers have to be that too, because it's all about instant delivery, instant ability to have changes on the services, and every one of our members are on that journey, and that's the transformation journey we talked about.
I have heard a lot this week about moving to more agile operations and simplifying a lot of the complexities that service providers are facing.
Right. So this means that we all have to be in the same boats, rowing the same way. So we're working with a lot of SDOs and open source projects to work together collaboratively. Because I think it's really important that if we're all working together, we can get there faster. So for example, with Linux Foundation, with the ONAP, as you know, that's the open source for the automation aspect. We're working to put our APIs into them, and into their releases, and work with them. And our APIs are now working also with TM forums, so we didn't reinvent them from scratch, but we kind of worked with the TM forum APIs to add on the next layer of how we describe products and our products and service definitions. So with TM Forum, we use their generic APIs to then build our more specialized APIs, if you want to think about it. And then we're working to put all of that together in an open source package with ONAP, and with their releases coming up, Casablanca and then Dublin. And so we're all working together, very collaboratively and not competing in any way.
Right, yeah. So that collaboration sounds really important. You mentioned earlier the cultural transformation that service providers are on. How is MEF helping your community with reskilling opportunities, certifications? Can you talk a little about that? Yeah,
I think there was in our survey from the Vertical System survey, it's talked about the #1 issue being the technical skill set. Because this is a whole new level of technology. You have to be very software savvy now. You have to understand development languages because it's all about APIs. That whole area of transformation from orchestration, SDN, and NFV has to be trained. So we have a professional service training now. We call it SDN NFV training, so you can get professionally trained and certified. Okay. We also have a basic called Network Foundation, just the basics for like sales and pre-sales people. We got that certification program. And so that's really helping the community to get understanding this new emergence, this transformation happening in networking generally.
So it sounds like there's those sort of continuing education opportunities for folks at any level of an organization.
Yeah, yes, exactly. And I think what we're seeing is most providers will move to DevOps model, NetOps, because that's kind of how clouds are run now. And the traditional operations people will have to be very savvy in the DevOps, NetOps world. And we're teaching that also in the certification. What does that mean? So we're really retooling all our certification for this transformation journey. So another area of how we're helping our membership.
Right. Well, thanks so much for your time, Pascal. It's been a pleasure.
You too, Kelsey. Thank you so much.